Round 3, Dino. Hey, man. First off, after watching Bud fight Canelo, which was a good fight, I realized more and more that MMA is just a much funner sport. I know we didn't have the name recognition on Noche UFC, but I just had a much better time watching the MMA fights opposed to the boxing fights. And that was one of the best fights that we could have had in terms of two stars in their primes relatively and on the biggest moments. And it wasn't a boring fight, but MMA was just much more fun. So at times, Dean, boxing gets ridiculous. Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul. Yesterday, they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And two, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fighting, Dean.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds.
I said it was 190.
The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali act and all. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's completely unfair. It is completely just, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled, but this fight should not be happening. And the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
D, why, D?
Just the fact that, like, every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to, like, P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening. And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. He's like, I thought it was
bad,
190, it was 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad. Because you know what that tells me? That tells me that even he recognizes that he's too big for him. Yes. He recognizes that he's too big for him.
I'm wondering how this even came about. It can't be that Gervonta Davis needs money. That can't be the reason why he's
world champion so recently. How could he be broke?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he doing this for money? And then why and how is even Jake Paul doing this when no one respects it? Like, I can't think of anybody that respects this.
But Jake Paul has been able to carve out and make his own lane in boxing, and I've never seen anything like it, bro. He literally, I mean, we don't know what weight class he fights in any situation. We just don't know. He kind of makes his own rules.
He makes his own rules.
And it seems like people are playing by those rules. I remember a couple weeks ago, the WBC and the Jose Suleiman was very upset that he wasn't going to be able to put the belt on the winner at Canelo versus Crawford. That's the thing that's happened since the beginning of the time. Those guys are very powerful in boxing. But with Zuffa boxing, it was almost like that power was getting stripped away. They were very disappointed. But how can you take those sanctioning organizations seriously when they are sanctioning this?
That's my point. That's my point. That's why I think that this whole thing that we have, this boxing and this MMA argument and Zuffa getting into boxing, our argument is misplaced because things like this should not be happening. And the fact that boxing is allowing this to happen is an embarrassment to the sport.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I talked about this before. Like, I didn't know why they were fighting because, I mean, Gervonta Davis's last fight was at 136 pounds. Jake Paul, seriously, his last fight was at
136 pounds. And we know, in DC, we know boxers don't cut weight like MMA
Not
guys.
like MMA fighters.
No.
Bro, when I hear the boxing broadcast, he cut off 7 pounds yesterday. I'm like, bro, 7 pounds, man.
They said that about Canelo. They was like, bro, Canelo put on like 10 pounds. I was like, 10 pounds?
Bro.
I know dudes that put on 10 pounds the first hour after the weigh-in.
Bro, Pereira is 238 pounds and he's 2 weeks from the fight. I mean, come on. Guys, let's not make this happen. This is absolutely ridiculous. And now for my final thought. Guys, we have done a lot of things here at DCTV. Tomorrow I premiere my new show, The Daniel Cormier Show, where I will sit down with fighters long form. So it's not just a check-in where we talk about the fight. We talk about life. We talk about hardships, the good times, the bad times, relationships, and so many other things. My first guest is none other than Merab Dvalishvili, the bantamweight champion of the world. We spoke about his upbringing in Georgia, how he came to the United States with nothing, didn't speak the language, getting misguided by people in this country to ultimately finding a home with Ray Longo and Team Sarah Longo, and now training in Las Vegas where he defends his championship next week. Merab is fun. Merab is funny. And Merab also has a great story. I will try to tell those stories or help the fighters, and not only fighters, athletes, people in the public eye, tell their stories to you so that you can get to know them better. Don't miss the Daniel Cormier Show premiere tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here at my YouTube channel. We get to know Merab a little better. And I tell you, man, he is as interesting as you thought, if not more. Round one, my man Dean Thomas, the other day was on a podcast and he said this.
They got Dakota Decheva, who's a star.
Great.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
legit.
great.
I'm like, yo, if you guys like MMA, do this for MMA. Trade her to the UFC.
Yeah.
You trade her for Ankalaev. We don't need Ankalaev. You know what I'm saying?
Dean, you're talking about the light heavyweight champion, Magomed Ankalaev, and you're talking about Dakota, who fights in PFL. Dean, it would take a blind man to know, it would take a blind man to not know that, to not know that you're looking at a star. But Dean, a UFC light heavyweight champion, there has to be something that was lost in translation when you made that statement. Please tell me that.
All right, so first off, let me say this. I've been saying this for 2 years. I've been saying this for 2 years that they needed to make that trade.
About Ankalaev.
Yes.
Why?
When Ankalaev was running around trying to get fights, begging for fights, I said trade his ass to the PFL where he can go win $1 million. And so that's what I was saying. So the clip that we just heard was actually a year ago.
Shut up, Dean.
It was a year ago where he was still begging for fights. And I was like, yo, just trade him to the PFL because he could make $1 million there. He'd win the tournaments there. And we could use Dakota. Now, here's the thing. So I went back after this thing blew up. I'm surprised that they conveniently brought it out now when he's defending. He's a champion.
And he's about to fight for a world title. So, of course, this is
the perfect time for them to bring it out now. But I went back, and not only am I doubling down, I'm tripling down, and I'm still saying that it would be a better trade.
Dean, get out of here. Dean,
I am tripling down on this. Dakota Decheva. She is 15-0 with an 80% knockout rate. If you don't think that the UFC could make her a star, one of the biggest stars in all of MMA, a blonde-headed girl next door, a pretty girl that has an 80% knockout rate, she would be the biggest star in the UFC. They would do with her the way they did Ronda, the way they tried to do Holly Holm, the way they tried to do Paige VanZant.
Dean, you're going crazy. You're going crazy.
Dude.
Dean, you said Ronda Rousey. You said Ronda.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The way they tried to market Sean O'Malley, because Sean O'Malley was a kid who no one thought would be anything, and he's out there knocking people out. The public loves that. They love when you can take an unassuming looking person, a person like Dakota, who looks like the girl next door. She's a pretty girl with an 80% knockout rate. She would be a massive star in the UFC.
Until she gets to the UFC and the knockout stop, Dean. Until she gets to the UFC in the level of competition.
What makes you think the knockouts will stop? She fought Taya Santos, who arguably beat Valentina Shevchenko. She knocked her out.
You know MMA math does not work, Dean. You know that.
I do know that.
Dean, you know that does not work. The fact that you come up here with this BS, Dean, and the fact that you're tripling down, Dean.
I'm tripling down on it.
The competition level raises, and then the knockout stop, and then you got another person. First off, Don't ever say Ronda Rousey again because you couldn't recreate Ronda Rousey. You can't recreate Conor McGregor. You can't do what you did the first time again, Dean. You know that.
I know. So I'm making the analogy that she's a pretty girl that has a finishing ability. So I'm
Yes.
making that analogy that they could create a star based on that.
But Dean, you know how they always say you catch lightning in a bottle? That happens once. There's only going to be ever one Ronda Rousey. If Valentina Shevchenko has not rose to that level of stardom, no one will, because she's won as much as anybody in the world. Even Amanda, bro, when she was winning all those fights, never rose to that level of stardom.
But I'm telling you that I think Dakota Dicheva could have. I think she could have. I'm not sure it'll happen now because the UFC probably will never get her, but I'm still tripling down on it.
And I'm saying, Magomed Ankalaev, I'm taking him every day, all day. Give me a world champion male fighter. I don't care where he's from, over someone that is fighting in a different organization that we don't know that it translates. But I think this young lady's phenomenal. I just think that Dean Thomas has completely lost his mind. And this is why we may get canceled.